We start.
Right. So we're going to introduce Chris as the main organizer, the guy who started this all, so we have him to blame. Uh, Welcome to Coding Night, or whatever we're on. Who was here last month? No, all right. So, weren't you here last month? No, was it, what's it called? No, okay. So we have Ben Skyler, who will help with continuity. We're going to continue from what we were doing last week, or last month, because we realized just getting into a small problem. Only got so far, but now that we have a little bit of momentum, we wanted to bring that forward. And we started working on a blackjack game. And it can be however we want it to be, we get to decide that as a group. So there's no clear definition of requirement, but some goals would be if you could have a human play against a virtual dealer or something like that, maybe encounter multiple players that help be virtual or maybe multiple humans. So playing on a computer would be weird because you would see other, well, we can still see it in most cards on normal blackjack table, except for the dealer. So we're going to continue with the ensemble programming method, which is where you have one person standing here, who's the navigator, trying to explain, or tell the typist sitting there what to do. The typist will just do as instructed, and then you have the ensemble, which will help the navigator get unstuck, or ask questions if you're confused about something, or make suggestions to improve things as we go. And then every every 4 minutes, we're going to rotate. So the navigator will become the next typist, someone from the ensemble will come up and be the new navigator. Hopefully, they'll have the idea or time to formulate ideas to come in. And then the typist will go back to the ensemble and be part of it. So anyone here who's not comfortable with being part of rotation, it's perfectly fine if you don't know much about Python. You can also say, hey, I'm stuck, so I'm going to use this turn to learn about what we just did and ask questions. Because sometimes it might be like, I might even be like, I don't know what we're doing. So, is anyone not comfortable with being in rotation?
Okay.
We want to encourage people. If you're more inclined to help program, okay, scoot forward. Less inclined, scoot towards the back. Hopefully, with multiple mice, we'll be able to pick everyone up. But yeah, any questions before we get into it?
Where's Spec?
Whoa, you gotta know what we're doing.
Is there a Spec?
No.
Oh,
I mean, do you know how to play blackjack?
not quite. That's what you have to get 21, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I remember what. But I can't think of like I wouldn't be on the spot here and like that. Okay.
Yeah. So they would have the deal a hand to the dealer and the hand to the player, so they'll get 2 cards. And that's as far as we got last time.
Okay.
The players will decide whether they want to hit and get another card or they want to stay. If they hit and get above 21, but they bust and they lose. And then when you get to the dealer, we can implement the rules of like dealers hit to 17. So if they flip over their other card and they're at 15, then they have to hit. But if they bust, then they lose. And it's possible for everyone to lose. That's not lose. So that's basically a quick rundown of blackjack. So we want to start with the first rotation since we're standing here.
Yeah, the one other thing I wanted to say is that at the end of this, we're going to do retrospective, just to talk about like what happened, how we feel about it, things like that. I have some notes here, so at any time, what we wanted to essentially do is record observations. I'll say a little more about it, but like, if there's something that you think about, feel free to write down something or say, question to you. This is really just a, relax and then, feel free to, if you need a little break, feel free to, disengage from me. It's not what we're to, sit back or, oh yeah, I moved the whiteboarding for there so that the navigator, a lot of people say that it's really nice to know like what our current goal is. And so like the navigator kind of has control over that. And so like if they want to change it, they can, or move to accomplish it, they can figure out what they want to do next. A lot of times we forget about that after the first couple of times we put it up there, but we can see if we can do more. I like that. If you try to help us or move our life. Otherwise, this is a very well environment. If you have questions, ask. And maybe we'll pick up the first rotation.
Yeah, before we start the clock. The other thing, during the era, we're doing test driven development, so we're gonna have the tests to make sure that what we're coding is actually doing what we want. That way we can alter our code as we would like, and know that it's still working, or we can come up with more test cases. And if anyone has any questions about test driven development, by all means, feel free to ask what's going on, because this is more about learning than trying to get a functional game. But it's a goal to get towards.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's. So that was the feedback. Before we get into that is, and also, maybe you want refrigerating in a lot of refrigerator, you need drinks and snacks. So those people were there when but we rather we go over that.
Yeah. So that is a package. I forget who developed it. Okay. But it basically shortcutted our need to develop the functionality of a deck of cards so we can focus on the game itself. So it has all suits, all numbers, we can call it to include the jokers, exclude the jokers, shuffle the deck, deal certain number of cards. And if anyone gets on the phone or computer, start looking up the documentation by all means, but make sure that you're using the current stable version as of last month, unless it been released. But because they have more features that are adding in.
It looked like it looked down.
Just make sure that the documentation kind of matches the other than the repo.
It's back in the.
Right. I mean, Vector Standard 52 plus 2 jokers, and you can add in multiple decks, but you don't. You're not adding skips or wilds.
Yeah. Yep.
Alright.
One last thing before, you remind me that, one specific part of this is, we treat everyone with kindness, consideration and respect. And so if you don't take it as part of the thing, so thank you.
And also just for audience setup, there's a little icon like here, which should be good to capture the navigator, and hopefully you can capture enough of the audience. I've got mics for the typist, and then I have one in the back to all kind of fill out the sound. But yeah, so I think to start, we need to figure out where we are. We're ready, done.
Oh, got to move up, let me get the documentation back up.
So, yes.
Sorry, I'm just like very intrigued by the test-driven development. I don't ever seen that, like, because I'm coming from an analyst background. I'm curious, like, does that mean that there's no dependency, like you can't pass any variables in it? If it's, or are you?
So you're testing that specific conditions yield specific results. So you would create a test case for whatever conditions you want to test. So if you want to get the square root number of a certain number, you would test 0 returns 0, instead of make sure that 4 returns 2, and that -1 blows up your computer. So you would write 3 different test cases for that.
So would you have those like values generated inside of the function, or would you have them pass it? Could you maybe?
I think that she's asking, I think what you're doing is you're observing that there's no explicit parameter
Yes.
in the test methods and confusing that with test-driven development. That's just how he's created his methods. Test-driven development is really in its purest form. You don't write anything and you write a test. And when the test fails, you go to the code and update the code. I don't know anybody that actually does that because it sounds ridiculous, but somebody got a PhD talking. So a combination of what I just said and reality is basically what we generally.
You can use logos inside a game. You can access any logos under. And so, like, you can create those parameters, or you can have things that track all the tasks. Something that runs out. We can get things.
So, just run through this with manually. Game equals game, which is calling this class. So when it emits, it's gonna take a full deck with some jokers, and shuffle them, deal to the player, or deal to the dealer. So 52 cards, minus 2 for each, leaves you 48. So we're saying at the start of the game, we set up. We want to make sure that once everyone dealt, we have 48 deck, and each player has 2. And then the tie test will go through its file, find every function that starts with test underscore, and we'll just call that automatically. And why don't we start out with that? How's our testing looking? That's not good. So we don't have a,
Well, actually, the V here is definitely not non-iterable, non-type objects, because,
wait, what?
Oh, we did.
Looks good to me.
So the game can use the card.
it might be best to just start.
So this is where we were. We were trying to say, okay, let's give a hand or give 2 cards, and this is the perfect thing to follow what you were just asking. So we instantiate the game, we get 2 cards from the game, but here we have no clue what value those cards are going to be. So these are going to change over time. If we were to code a certain value, we would know that it would be bad, or it would work roughly 1 out of 13 times, or much less than that, actually. So instead, to test scoring a hand, we want to give it 2 very specific cards and make sure we get the results back. So, with that, is it narrowing? Sorry.
So it said something about non-iterable at the bottom. So in Python, is it, because I'm used to looking at the very bottom of the stat trace. So is this kind of less relevant than what's at the top of you guys were looking at? Because you guys are concentrating on the top part of this, but the actual thing I saw at the bottom says type error, cannot impact, non-iterable. So it seems like there's this iterable interface that's not being expanded upon.
It's definitely something that.
So it's like we're supposed to be getting at something that's got an iterable,
Is this a test that failed, or is this a, yeah,
if the test failed here, because it looks like if you have something in the net, maybe right here. Yeah. So it's like,
Okay, so we haven't passed in a card value yet. That's exactly where we stopped. In the back. So we know that the card needs a suit and a value. And then can we get away with not passing even a suit? All right. So let's give the test jack. And let's make first our suit equals spades. And value equals 1. Actually, make it 2. And make the other one, say, the 3 of spades. Okay, and then we can actually get rid of line 20. No, we need line 3. Alright, so in where Jack high, because we need to raise this evaluate function. Let's rename that to evaluate function. And create the new class. Which can I'm gonna probably need to pass that hand, I'm assuming. So the second parameter called hand. And then in the function, I would say.
there's no hand in the test. We're doing just your development, we're driving with that.
Passing the hand.
Okay.
So return none. Bound method. Is interesting.
Yeah, so. None is equal to bound.
So let's just change line 18 over there to say return 5. And then assert that the value over here is equal to 5. And see if that runs. Assume it's a pass.
It's a pass.
Cool. Now, if we were to change the value of the cards, obviously that's not going to work anymore. So, line 18 is jack.high. We could say, make a list comprehension of card.value for card in hand. Value not fail. And we would need to do a sum around that list comprehension. You're gonna need a fixture parenthesis. Oh, you did it with the generator? Yep. Cool. Let's run it, make sure that still works. Cool. So this also works because we could pass in multiple arrangements on there. So now we have the ability to add up numeric cards. So the next thing is what to do. You have a jack, or a king, or a queen. So let's create a new test case. Test player hand score with royals.
do this, card
Getting cards is, doesn't it just have the face card in like 13?
That's for the next person to find out. Adam?
Yeah, so, let's go ahead and, test the card.
Oh, yeah, right.
Let's create a card. Let's create a king in your test hand. In your test player hand score method, just create a king and print it. It's a value king with a string.
Nice.
Just do a single card and print a single card right now. Assert true after that. Print the hand.value or
Let's get it in spaces.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's space, you got spaces. Space. It's an index. Thank you.
Let's run. Value is 13, so we don't actually need this score with royals because the value will be 13.
So, numerical value, you just need to drop that back down to 10.
Well, I mean, we already found that out, I guess, so. So you can delete this test case. Unless you want to add another one to the score with hands, but I don't think that's necessary. Yeah. So let's create another test case. Let's do def test deal, one card. Create a new game. We'll call game dot deal, and then pass in a game dot players hand. And then player hand. And then another line for game dot deal dealer hand.
So we can get
Yeah. So, and then we'll create an assert line, a certain length of player hand equals 3. Yep. And the same for dealer's hand equals 3. Okay. And then we'll create a deal function that in our game object. We'll create a new function, def deal, self, and then hand. And we will do hand plus equal, or hand dot. Let's do append, hand dot append instead. Self dot or cards dot deal, is that a single card?
I'm showing off of those here.
Yeah, okay.
It's a soft card specific, so.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Who would like to be next?
So I was thinking, for evaluating, I guess to test first, I guess. So we want to test that, values over 21, bus.
And
So, depth,
has,
hand over 21.
Create a new test
yeah,
or over 21.
bust is fine too. That's a fine name. Then I guess do hand, just do 10, 10, 10. Or actually, I guess you should do 22 because that would be the first bus. So 10, 10, 2.
I assume that I have to probably keep cars the same thing. I don't know if this will probably look
See what it does.
the same suit.
Oh wait, can you make the last one 2? Just so we have 22, because that'll be the value, or like the lowest to go bust. Okay, and then I just realized I haven't thought about what to do when the game goes bust.
So I guess game would be, it's game over.
Anybody have thoughts on what to do for game over?
Some bullying value, right? Like, game is happy.
It does seem like each player might have a state of like.
Oh,
their
Are there multiple?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. 'Cause-
So when you say each player,
are
are there multiple players or is it just one player and a dealer?
Currently, we have it as one player and one dealer. We can change that later if you want up to the group.
Okay.
But the way the workflow should eventually work is currently every player create a dealer. Then one by one, each player decide to hit or stay.
Yeah.
If they bust, then they move on to the next person. And then eventually we get to the dealer.
Yeah.
And then whenever they're finished, then it can score, determine winners.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So then,
I like the idea of bullying.
Yeah, maybe just one on each player, if we have a player hand, maybe a self-player hand bus.
Yeah, let's do that. I was thinking of like a list or something, if we're gonna multiplayer, you should probably start simple and just do dealer and player for now. So let's do dealer is dealer bus, and self is player bus.
Well, if the use case is such that like I don't know, take out carbon, but what I'm saying, like, if the dealer, if everybody busts and the dealer's still there and the house won't, so
Yeah.
that should be anyone's state in first place. It really shouldn't matter what.
Well, do most everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I guess is what I'm saying is busing. Okay, never mind. Okay, I guess I'm thinking about it with the other concurrent players playing. The dealers
They go first.
they go first. They have priority. Oh, their bus state and prioritize.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll deal with that. Yeah.
what they're saying is that that is like a logical order
Mhm.
to players being evaluated. You can do that straight down.
Yeah,
So you don't necessarily have to keep those variables.
is that fine?
Okay.
Okay, so also,
So I'm gonna say, our current goal is 80. Logic. Okay, so, yeah, let's finish doing that. We self, his dealer bust. And set it to false. And then self is player bust. Oh, and you can add the ER to the dealer on line 11. Okay, so maybe jump back into the test and assert is dealer bust is true. Okay, yeah, sorry, game is dealer bust equals true. Okay, for now we want to need a function to assess the bust is. So go on new function, we'll call it just def, all the way to the bottom is one. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, we already have the value in hand. But great. So the value in hand has to set if the player or the dealer is bust. Just cards.
Yeah, and evaluating what we're talking
Yes, okay, so it's greater than putting over to bus, so.
So you guys, should we be trying to pass in the dealer, from the dealer or player from the game, or just take any hand and return a true false? Just returning the true false, makes sense?
So, can you say that again?
So, we're taking the hand, but we don't know who it belongs to. So do we want this function to deal with that and be able to set that dealer is bust or player is bust value like in itself because we pass it some kind of way, or do we want to just return whether the hand was bust or not and it's some other function?
So my thought was to evaluate hand, just taking the hand itself and evaluate it, and then you would have another function, or
your game loop.
that would do the game.
Yeah.
So you would set up the players and you would have this, use this class and evaluate as things go.
It's like at the end of every cycle, it's checking both hands.
Actually, it could just be the active player hits until they either choose to stay or that they bust. Then it goes to the next player and they can do the same thing, next player, so forth, until finally you get to the dealer that will be forced to hit to a certain value for casino rules. And then when they're done their turn, it can go back and reevaluate everyone and see who the winners are.
Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be a little bit out of the scope of what I know how to do. I'm trying to think of how you set up a game loop where it's.
So why don't we focus more on the
You can't, if you were in a game, your game would. You have an update hand after it's dealt, and that set those values, and then later down.
I've got an idea. Well, we're saying, I think you uncovered good questions to turn. But,
Yeah, probably it should be more specific, but it wasn't coming.
no, totally, I get that.
All right, so, I think I'm going to change your test a little bit.
Sure.
So in line 39, instead of game equals game, can you change it to player equals player with a capital P? And then line 40, do player dot hand equals all that. So just insert player dot in the beginning. And then assert player dot is bus equals true. All right, let's run their tests, make sure they all fail, which they should. No, go ahead and click that little drop down next to it. So, sorry, the one to the left of it. And switch to all tests. And now play that. All right, cool. We don't have a player. In Jack that icon above, you're above the class, or player name. Go ahead and create a new class there called player. And then do colon, just colon. And then above that, I want to make it a little bit simpler on this to start with. I'm going to use a data class. So above that, you can do decorator at data class.
Unit
DATA.
Capital B.
No, data, just DATA. CLA.
Oh.
And hit it legally to get to the one data class. Now, option enter. And import data class, data class. Cool. Underneath the player, so get your new line to line 6 and put hand and colon capital list brackets card. And put the name list in front of it. This is just a type hint. Lowercase, lowercase, list. And then click on card and underline what it is. Go ahead and
Which game is most safe?
you'll have to either hit the button or hit option enter. And then import card back. Cool. And then create a
player.
new, actually, go ahead and run the test. I realized we did a full test without it. Cool. Okay, on the right hand side, click where it's red schooling and hit import player for Java. Yeah. There you go. Now run again. Oh, okay. Move that list of where's the player.name. Go ahead and move that all that list into the player.
Yeah. I realized that was something unintended. Now we can get rid of that line. And now run our test again.
Okay, cool. Now, underneath hand and jack, we want to create a new function called isBus.
And then open paren.
Go ahead and hit on the next line, be like return true.
And then above it,
So like a new line between 9 and 10, do an at sign
and
and
property.
property. Perfect.
Those
Let's
three
rerun
run
the
tests,
test.
and it's good.
Good. Let's go ahead and like even though let's go ahead and just run this since I only have to say well. Let's move go down to in the game there's the evaluate.
And
Yeah, right. And can you copy that player function and then put it above the player? The player. You want to cut it? Well, if we cut it, it'll break this.
this class, so I just want to copy it for now.
Okay.
And put it in place above the page. Put it above the player because it's going.
And now,
In his bus return, instead of returning true, we return evaluate and then
okay, I'm sorry.
scroll back to the service. Delete the self parameter in that hand because it's now just a hand. And now in the is bus function. Down. Switch off and return true. To return evaluate hand.
Self.hand,
And then greater than
21. Outside of the parens. Now go ahead and rerun our tests. All right. Cool. And that was notation.
Very good. Any questions about this? I'm moving on to the case. Yeah, go for it.
What's the decorator for the data class?
Yes, so data classes are a thing that essentially simplifies classes. So by making hands, essentially by saying that it in so
That's why I put it there on player instead of thing, because I thought, I would use in this date. Initialize from the method. Is that because you have a data class you don't need? Very good.
you know, which I introduced a lot there, so good.
And the other systems didn't know when you had the highlighted options to favor failing, you could. Let's go, you were implicitly importing something, like, I didn't understand that was the trigger. Okay, so within Python, like, so what did it actually do?
Yeah, so, yeah, so, for instance, just a little way. There they are.
Yeah. And so,
What's the important, that is needed from that?
oh, and I didn't put it,
Yeah.
And then since it's from the state,
oh, okay, yes, yeah, okay, I didn't see what I'm through here, and then we're doing that.
and since data classes is from the state library.
Yeah.
Probably like,
Microservices.
if I didn't feel like at the time, I probably would have like
Yeah.
done a couple cycles of test development. Yeah. So I wanted to like, I get there. It is both. I do create it so that I wouldn't break this class. But I was thinking, As it is, it isn't, but it's not using the self-parameter. In fact, it's still squiggles about it because, man, who can do that?
Anyone else want to get in the rotation, or?
What does that?
Sorry, perfect, that's what we would, so essentially it's, okay. It essentially is saying, so like, you notice how here we don't have the kind of things like this?
Just to demonstrate the difference.
Yes. So now we're going to pass.
So now it's just standard function, and you would have to call the function rather than reference it. So you would put the parentheses at there. But since we never have to pass anything to it, and it's basically giving it the value, you can get rid of the parentheses, make the code a little bit cleaner. It looks like it's just a property of that class. So when it's a property, you could decorate it back.
It's a great way to say that again. If you want a computed product.
So if we chose to make it. Oh, that's taken.
Well, we wouldn't have to take a parameter like we could. It could just be just like this.
Yeah, good example would be like if you had, say, a car operator, you have to graph in and speed, and step up there and velocity.
Yeah.
Velocity.
Or a square, or sorry, rectangle with a length and a width. You know, you have property just in area or perimeter. But that wouldn't be a value that you're storing, but you would want to be able to access that value in a similar way, and it says, give me this value. Okay. Does anyone else want to get in rotation, or? Oh, I'm curious, what were you aiming for with the player
I
class?
was thinking that, there's like a lot of like duplication with these things, and it just seems like we're going to need, it seems like every player, like we have two players now, a healer, a player, healer. Seems like it might be a special case of a player, I don't know yet, but like, it seems like we're trying to build all the state around all the different parameters. You know, especially these two, like I was thinking, if we were taking updates one, and if we start making more players, it might be like kind of an object that holds all these, like the data of the player, so that we don't have to update.
So the player current goal, consolidate players and dealer into a collection. That's not a good goal. Consolidate player and including dealer, which was to be the last player, into a collection. So that we just give this. All right. So since we have, cool. Let's go. In the init, let's give it a parameter of players. And give it a default value of 1. And then let's make a list comprehension to create players plus 1 hands. So online or for line 24. Do a self dot hands equals, self dot get hand, self dot get hand, 4 underscore in range players plus 1. And then delete lines 25 through 28. Scroll up to the player class. How do we instantiate that with a hand? Yeah, okay, that's great. Now let's run the test and see. Oh, we gotta get rid of dealer hand on all of these stuff. Yeah. So it could. Probably seems like a good keep. So in my mind, the gameplay will go through each player, and the dealer is just the final player. So we can treat it just the same rather than having to have a completely separate object.
Well, it's one thing, we could have it,
We could have a specific dealer if we want.
I submit that the dealer is the first player always. Because I'm thinking about when you're in the casino and you walk up, the guy's always standing there. He may not be able to play himself, but he's always the first person at the table. You don't have to deal with
But in
it.
terms of who chooses to hit or stand, the dealer is last.
Okay, so I'm thinking about instantiation of the honor.
Yeah.
So-
Like, if I'm the dealer, I deal 2 turns to Skylar, 2 to Adam, and 2 to Alfred. And I have 1 face down, 1 face up. Skylar gets to choose based on what I face up and she wants to do.
Mhm.
If she busts, or if she chooses to stay, I think it was that. So player 1, player 2, player 3. And once they've all made the decisions, then I flip my card over and I play. So that's what I was saying last.
Okay, so I'm thinking of thinking the data representation, instantiation of what an actual game would be. You have to have a dealer. So I would think that would be the first player, since the dealer is probably a subset of a player. So, which I think what you're talking about, I agree with that. But that's more of the operations of the game, than the actual big model.
I mean, it could go either way in the implementation. But when we get to the game loop, you're probably going to go for each player and you're going to start. And we can go through this list of hands, and we wanted to start with Skylar's first. So that's why I think the implementation with the dealer at the end would be easier.
Makes sense as far as the game, because then you just keep track of one thing, right? Like, iterating that list. And
Yeah, and, you know, you realize, you'll have to make some special conditions, say, okay, the last player that is dealer has to have some automated logic. Or you can actually play as a dealer, but, which we can do that. You can do it manually to start, but we're also a little ways from the game loop anyway. So you created this property.
but this as an option, because it could be an easy way to access the game, but
I don't think we need to. So I would delete in the test case lines 18 and 19. Nope, leave, I'm sorry, 19. And then I would game, actually I have a default value there. Run just a couple tests. And then go down. So we need to So we got the hand. So we gamed out the hands of. Yeah, so one. Or 29. Sorry. Game. Down hands here. And hands up. So 1. Similar for the last 31, 32. We need to solve the discrepancy of where we're dealing the card. But
All right, so look at the game class functions. Yeah. Where are we using evaluate hand?
right now we have this function here, but we also have it as a one function. Be there.
Okay, can we delete that one?
This one.
Yes. Run the test, please. Failed on hand 5. Go to the failed test. Sorry, it's line 20. Test.
In
Is it?
Sure.
Insert hand 5. Just delete game. Game dot evaluate hand. And I think it's game, uppercase game, or jack dot evaluate hand. It's whatever the input value is. Can you scroll to the top on jack test? Test jack? Yeah, jack dot evaluate hand. Because we need to use the namespace. Yep. That's good. Double click it, the top bar. Here's all right. Let's go back to the game class. And this get hand function, I think we need to roll into the player. And also the deal function. Both those need to just be pulled into either the player or global. Because they're not really.
They do require the card software bundle.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, we need to pass the, instead of using. Okay, all our tests passed currently. Let's make a.
Top on theory, what's that like?
Deal. 26.
Should be game dot hands. Dot hand. Right now your hands is actually play. It's like a misnomer. So you need to pass it in the proper.
Yeah, let's go back to game, rename hands, players.
Right.
And
And then you guys.
a hand on each one of those. Inside the parentheses on the last one.
No.
You're really eager for the sloop. You're really eager for the sloop. There's still a lot to be done in here, because out of the hand as well. What's after Adam? Maybe.
I don't think.
Let's go. Go play the game.
Do you feel comfortable? Go.
Yeah. I think I did go after you last time.
Yeah.
But someone's supposed to go.
I don't know syntax. My syntax is like 15 years old, so can't even. That's why I've got nothing for you. I have all these opinions. So he was saying that. I mean, I can go. You can go if it's like we can do it from an architectural standpoint, just design. I could try that. So what is he's? Unless you want to.
No, go ahead.
So he was saying that evaluate is something that we need to address. So what exactly is evaluate supposed to do?
Currently, you have evaluated and just we on the player is boss to be properly the players.
Okay. So, okay, the first one is, busted, greater than 20. Then, see what its space bar. Is, let's see here. Yes. Is not hard. Or is hard. Is that right? I'm trying to remember. We have base cards and we have a wild card. And then the lowest common denominator is a numeric value. Is that something that needs to be addressed? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay.
Base cards need to be 10, and then the ace can be either 1 or 11.
Okay, so
And you
that,
do wild cards.
okay. Well, that, I thought that's what I was, I knew there was something that had two values, and that's what I was
It's
thinking.
the ace that has either 1 or 11, depending on what you want to do.
Um. 11. So evaluating return sum R value. Okay, so the sum would actually have to be based off of these logic gates. So we would have a sum that would actually, we take in the card, and the card itself has to say, is it a base card or does it have a wild card value? What is it? I don't know. That's complicated.
Now you're increasing different thing is a lot.
So we right now we have values. Uh-oh. Is that the time?
Nope,
Oh.
it's a different number.
Value. And then we have, okay, so return that guy, so. This doesn't decide. What it's- Okay, this is what's somewhere else, so that's not this. So it's face card, so face cards, do they have values? There are going to be
All things good. And,
10.
you know, we have to have to evaluate again, it's evaluating again right now based on those numeric values.
So we have to decide, okay, yeah, then, I'm sorry. So yeah, so we have to pull out those values, so, these enums. Okay, so this car, where's the car object?
Yeah. I have a list.
So we need car objects, so that they can host these values, and that enum should be represented in the value held inside the
That's the sum we're looking for.
car. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we would need a loop, because the card values are enums, so they give us the value.
Yeah, it's a card that I created. Like 11.
Here's one of those. Yeah, this wasn't right.
Some kind of like, because you have to be able to know if it's an ace, it's gonna be 11 or 1. Then you're only gonna know that by looking at whole hand. So you definitely need.
So when do you make that decision? As it's 11, that's a player.
If you're about, I would say treat it as an 11, unless you're about to bust, then knock it down to 11.
Gotcha, okay. So yeah, so in that case, so you see what I'm saying about the object, card being an object, not a. So
I think it is.
it is an object?
It's we're getting it from the deck. Yeah. We're getting-
Oh, the premature thing, okay.
So it's value.
Okay, so the value, can the value take on, I'm too. Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, so what we did right here, in the poll, you need to say.
Oh, I see why you did that then.
This party and gotta change it from color to perfect. This next one is one. Eight. Evaluate as 11.
I would say that was the special case, because I keep saying, if you're about to be 25 over, if you're about to be over, then you go back and see if there's a piece in there.
I just want to ask a question to say, I wasn't here for the initial week. Is this designed to be something written to watch a game play or to be interactively played?
Interactively played. Well, actually, like,
Because wouldn't you want to delay a point return in the case of one instead of a value return? Because then the player has to put in whether they would decide instead of actually. Right?
it's a possibility.
Right, and it'd be,
I don't know.
Two, this is like there's a split off now.
Well, what I was gonna say is like, that's what I was wondering, thinking about, it looks like we need to figure that part out, but I don't know of any blackjack games which
let you make that option, because it seems like they assume that you want it to be the safe. It's not something.
Oh,
It's just like, if you want to call it a one, just get again, as long
Well,
as.
if I get one to six,
Sorry.
if I get one to six,
Uh-huh,
I can, that's seven.
right, and
I
you
can
can,
choose to stay.
right, and it
But
was
if I
like,
see a dealer, I may actually have to stay.
Right.
yeah, but like, as far as the test would go, it would just read what you have, and if you had a one, a six, and some other card, it would count it as a one, but if you just had one and a six.
That's
That makes sense.
for the tech, the bus test.
Well, for both, when the game goes to check it too, so like, if, I don't know, it's hard to explain, it's kind of like a thing that you, just by doing it, you make the decision,
Yeah, I think this is a really good thing that we will need to figure out at some point when we get back next month.
What I'll probably do is create a reading between now and next month, so that would have a spec to work towards, so the public is. Yeah, it's on the PyRBA, GitHub. Okay.
So what I want to do now is to have a little bit of a retrospective just to, so we can all appreciate what we all experienced. And I've passed around some post-it notes and some hands-on, we'll grab some more post-it notes for anybody who's contributing. Essentially, the idea is you write down any observations you have that you'd like to share on a post-it note. We can put it up on here. I'll read it out loud so we can have a little discussion about it. In particular, and specifically mention observations because we all see things differently, and we want to let's all kind of share the observations we all have. So in particular, I want to say any observation is valid. You can have observations about the syntax of the language, the code we use, the IDE and tooling, how we work as a group, emotions we felt, worries or concerns about about the code, the feature, things you liked or disliked, or things that surprised you about today. I'm going to make a couple. Were you good? Post-its? All right. Fine. These things. We're good with this. Hang on. Anybody else? Brian,
Any other?
It's true.
Good job on that.
Yeah.
Anybody still writing? Okay, so let me. So.
I'll go through these and just group them as we go. Spend time upfront deciding on a direction before diving into code.
That is a great observation.
Digging into domain, awesome. Large cycles without feedback. Naming is hard, hands versus players.
All right, 3 things. So let's see. Good, readme, or spec.
Spec for reference and brainstorm.
Kind of like,
Maybe do a brainstorming session at the start of
next project. Great idea. And
the discussion of TDD as the core primary. Thinking too far in the future.
Might be good to set a rotation for navigator and typist at the beginning. Good call. Separate as well. Would it be helpful to map out what needs to be done and break into stories? Good call.
I wrote this one, that's kind of what I was thinking here. Maybe these together. Hey, Travis? Yeah. And you're good to file into the board. Oh, sure.
Same one.
How is the game played? Yeah. Felt reminded of how honest I am, but I feel this would be space recognized questions. Awesome. Thank you for sharing your feedback. I felt there was a lot of jumping around for tests. I had a hard time focusing, but that could be sleep deprivation. This- When refactoring for scale and efficiency, abstracting functionality improves access between components. Good to refactor early rather than force solutions.
That is a really great point.
Complexity.
Yeah, that's sort of like. The idea that I think some of these things early could be, I mean, I guess it's related to like, I think the game, like, we're getting into players and all this stuff. And I think very with that. How the game is going to be.
Yeah.
When you add complexity, you just make it work, because like the previous week, just said something about refactor early. Refactor to that you're making.
Yeah. So.
It's funny because like I think usually what I think I'm following what somebody said I should do, and I think
Part of it is like, once you do this, you kind of like go for what you're talking about. Hopefully we can talk about all these things. So let's keep reading. Could someone share how to play the check? I like the implementation of object-oriented programming, through the intro of Airlines.
I'm gonna put it here, it's kind of design related.
Red badge stepping. TDD is an intermediate or advanced topic that distracts from the Python for beginners. Clarifying ideas before jumping to coding for the audience. Very, very good.
Keep that by itself.
And is this the normal TDD workflow? Perhaps there is a design doc from previous sessions. Would be helpful to guide discussions, based on group 90 or seen others. Thought process. Cool. So, maybe I'll start by like opening up something, because there's something that sparked a discussion for anybody.
I was gonna say, I've made notes as we were going through, just like realizing some of the issues that we were having, and it seems like a lot of them were really echoed in what was written. So yeah, we're gonna keep going down this route. I'm gonna make sure that we have a clear understanding so everyone knows how the game's played, a document that we can use to understand what needs to get done. We can fill out a free form, all that stuff, but I'm glad to know that I was the only one noticing these things. So apologies, but this is how we learn.
I want to touch on the test-driven development thing. So, this is part of me trying to figure out how to facilitate this group because, it is a skill in and of itself that, helps us to learn, the idea is we write the code that we want to use, even though it doesn't exist yet. Run the test, make it fail, and then implement the code. But obviously, if you're not used to doing that, it's hard to enforce that. And so, all the ensemble groups I've been part of and people who love it, they all do test-driven development. So that's, I feel like something that's important, but obviously I don't enforce it too hard because it's uncomfortable. Most of us don't have the aren't, right? So that's something that I'm continuing to play with. But I could be a little bit harder and push it, which I think is maybe I could try one rotation or two just to see how it goes. Because I think sometimes having feedback helps us learn and grow. But to hear any feedback, any thoughts, that's my observation, but discussion.
I think TDD makes sense if like the classes are subbed out. If we're inventing player classes now, tonight, and having to refactor the tests after we've written it, then we spend too much time fixing the tests and then we don't make much progress. So like, I was looking at both that TDD maybe to intermediate or advanced for beginners. I'm like, trying to read through to see the attending. I think TDD might be a little too difficult for the example that we have here where we don't have a classes. So,
Yeah, my thoughts on that too is I wanted to, one, I have to make it easier for myself and get to say which way this had to go, but realizing making it too freeform usually makes the TDD less beneficial. So maybe we can get together and do a little bit of stuffing some stuff out. Then we could continue on with this next month if people are still interested in doing this problem. Or I can come up with a whole new one, either or.
Yeah, I think that there is like, I guess, when you're doing test-driven development, you're on the learning to copy learning program, which it does feel like there's a thing. But I think you do it functionally, but that's part of it, and we're also doing reporting. Now we're teaching upgraded Python and test-driven development. So it is like also improving to your point of complexity. Blackjack is a pretty simple game played with players, right? So like how the prosecutors are doing need to be initiated to create a block program. And if you can play the game, make the game, basic functionality, this stuff. We made a basic block that it probably has 10 cases that come over. Maybe 8 don't. When we're like, okay, we get this game, got 4 loops, play it like, but it doesn't do X, Y, Z. And then we go, say, hey, we got this procedural thing, we turn this into a beautiful program. So I don't know, I think those are different design methodologies for doing stuff, but I think what is focus the platform.
To address this, I mean, buffing out a little bit, but making it more auto than the pre-form.
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult.
His education. And working class was that sort of way you're trying to say scaffolding. Right, for somebody coming in, like myself, as we're novice, you know, I haven't done this TD before, and know the acronym before tonight and that sort of thing, and you want to just do some zones and support, like that's simple, right? That's what my brain did right now. Hopefully getting that.
Right, at the beginning, you probably don't. You think about why and what.
Well, I've seen you before. I did some of my own certifications 8 years ago. When they didn't have to use a database. So they died.
The last one I was expecting to do is all functional, like, the group ended up making it more into objects, so it's like. Alright. There we go, but.
It's just like a logic flow. What's not working is, it's just not. This is really, this is really cool. I really like how you can just test each function. So, like, I need to go, I need to do this work. Like, this test driven development is so useful for that. But like you were saying about the ethics that have been built out, well, I mean, it doesn't need it. Mostly Databricks. Which is hard to see data into, so data is big, but yeah, I think that was really, yeah, I just was taking it all in. I honestly wanted to take a turn, but I was too scared. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know the game well enough to know, like, oh, this is this. I was kind of like, oh yeah, we're ready to play, and then somebody would think of something. Oh, we're not. But I didn't even know that data. But it's really cool. I really like the free flow. I definitely didn't feel like people up there had pressure. I just felt.
What Brent said last time, and I reiterate this time, is you're welcome to take a turn and be like, what the heck's going on? Where are we? What are we trying to do? And that can slow us down the group and refocus too. So it's another thing to add into stuff like this. I thought you do ahead of time. But
I think it's also the ensemble because
yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that, it's interesting, because like, you know, when I've done ensembles, so we do this, you know, so far, we've been doing it every month, it seems like it's really great feedback, so we're gonna continue doing it. But I also have been doing it with a couple of teams, and it's like, as a team works together, they kind of figure out how they do ensembles together, which is kind of different in this environment. Yeah, which is cool, and I feel like it's worth it, and I think it's fun, it's friction, but, yeah.
So the size of the ensemble, I think, is maybe correct, because each week we've been growing, which is good. But I feel like there's more confusion if you do a larger group, especially when not everyone knows the game itself. So,
Might be useful, say before sessions on your album, or something, basically say, hey, we're gonna focus on their ball game, wherever. There's 2 or 3 objectives for that. And everyone, they have that concept.
it's good. If not on Discord, we can at least put some objectives up on the board for when people walk in. That might be an easier time to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna get close to time, but is there anything else that we can share? I did want to thank, the people who got up for the first time. Thank you so much. And especially, honestly, I really just, I call out like digging into the domain, like so many times as a navigator, I feel like, okay, I need to jump into the code, but like, this is what we needed. You know, I think,
That wasn't my comment.
was that,
That wasn't my comment.
oh, let me get up in mind.
Oh, okay. I just didn't want to take anybody else's thunder there. But yeah, so also, along the lines of what the gentleman here was saying, what is the level, because I'm a novice on Python just because I haven't used it since college. And but my thought process is still like within the realm of like the architecture and how I put this together. So how advanced are we expecting to get here? Because I'm looking at this and looking at what we need to like make it a real thing, but at the same time, from what your comments were, you know, like if this is a true beginner's environment, you know, you're not looking at concurrency to make sure everything runs at the same time, make it look like something you stick into an automated website for poker. So, you know, so what do we want to also define some bounds there on complexity as far as that's concerned? Because I don't want to start talking about like advanced object stuff, and you know, that's also why I wanted to come here too, to figure out why all the young developers around us have grown up doing Python complain when they see my like Spring Boot object oriented design thing. They're like, what? So, there.
I mean, we could easily take this as far as we want. You can obviously develop an interface, you can do a web interface and program in Django or Fast API or Flask or whatever. You can create a desktop app or command line, whatever, but I think at some point.
Well, I'm saying realistically, yeah. You know, like not like me sitting here. I was just saying, okay, well, we probably need to do this because have we talked about concurrency yet? I was like fighting myself from not saying those words. So
Maybe
for the saying
we haven't even touched on betting, how much do you want to put into the
exactly, yeah.
So my thought is as long as it is still appealing to the beginner and intermediate crowd that seems to make up a lot of the group, then we could keep going along on this. Once it gets a little bit beyond that, then we could flip it and say, hey, folks, we go play around, do what you want with it. Do that on your own time. But I don't get into heavy interface stuff that is going to leave new developers lost.
Exactly.
So, this is also a bit of an experiment too, because before this, we've done codes where we're doing one little, running one little thing each week. And so this was kind of let's see what it's like to build something with beta. Which but that is one thing that I wanted to touch on about like large feedback cycles. Like, test-driven development is intended to have like small, quick little feedback cycles so you can see what's going on. Actually, that wasn't just feedback. I just want to talk a little bit. Like, we thought a lot about all these things that we're not dealing with. And part of it's because we weren't, maybe having a little more focus, structure to know what we're going in. But like, I observed that like there are many times where we started thinking like, oh, well, what about in the game loop, or what about and like all these different things. And I only want to call this out because that is what we all do as developers. I think we're trained to think 3 times down the line when really the expert developers that I've seen live in the moment. And that's something like I'm trying to, right? They say live in the moment, like they are making the code work as it works right now, and they're willing to refactor when it doesn't. And that's something I'm learning and dealing with a lot of teams I'm dealing with. Like, we're all like, oh, okay, we're going to need this in the future, but sometimes we don't. So one of the reasons all that out there is something that I'm struggling with and trying to figure out how to do. And anything else? Thanks for coming out and being vulnerable and helping out. This is wonderful. So, and thanks for all the feedback as well. Thanks. This is very great.
For in terms of feedback for us, this was made more valuable than what we've got in the past.
Yes.
And so I apologize for the struggles that we've had, but it really helps us realize.
And our next meeting is September 5th, yes. In which case I'll be giving a talk about what I call it essentially elevating your web app experience with a couple of JavaScript projects with some techniques. I don't remember what I said. Look at the meetup and the page. Yeah, and I think that's it. It'll be here in Thursday. What's that?
Roll up now.
What is it?
It's to define your data and problem.
Excellent. Thanks, you don't have to go home, but you can stay here, but thank you so much.